disassembled my Ruger 1022 to clean it, and I decided to perform a video. This 1022 was manufactured in 1985. You can go on Ruger's website and look up the ID and see when it was manufactured. And I purchased it new for $125 in 1985. And now they're what? $220 for a carbine. So anyway, that's inflation. So I also purchased a BX trigger, and the BX trigger, this is I put about 500 or 600 rounds through it. Not quite sure because it's been about a month. Anyway, so the BX trigger is pretty good. I only see really a dirty spot right in here. I really don't see any nicks or dings or scratches or anything from the bolt. So we will just let that go. The only modification I made was the bolt release, the bolt stop and the bolt release. So what we have going on there is the bolt stop right there. Get on camera, and that gets stopped, and then you pull it back a little bit, it drops down, and then it slides forward with the help of the spring, if I can stay on camera. So that's the BX trigger. It's pretty nice. The bolt is pretty much the dirtiest part. Like I said, there was about 500 to 700 rounds put through it. I put about 500 through it, and another 200 from other people using it, because you know, we share our firearms and shoot and practice and whatnot. So this is the original bolt, 1985. You know, you can see all the markings on it from where it's been really dirty. Here is the dirtiest part, which is the face, which makes the most sense. You can see a lot of material builds up underneath here on the blow-by. On the spring, on the return spring and charging handle, you can see a little bit right at the top, and of course on the back also. You can see a little bit right there, and the reason for that is that's what's facing all of the gunk that's flying out of there while it's cycling. Alright, in the receiver you can see quite a bit of dirt. A lot of this paint that's missing in here, that's from my tool to reassemble it. And I'll show you that in a little while. I've only had the barrel off one time since 1985. I noticed there was a tremendous amount of material right here all around the barrel opening. So let me get that on camera. And so I took the barrel off and cleaned that up, and you can see just from about, let me just call it 500 rounds, just because I definitely know it was at least 500 rounds going through it. That's how dirty it's become. And you can see all the paint and everything that's been knocked off over the years. You can see, you know, how it's been beat up. You know, it just goes in the woods, it goes in the shooting range, goes in the field. Sometimes we just go in the open field and shoot, not even an official range. So you can see the top, you can see where I had scopes on there before. Also, what you want to notice is the logo. If you can see that logo, if you can see the logo, it says SR for Storm Ruger. So it's definitely an older version. Also with that, I'd like to point out the magazine. This is the original magazine. Note that the follower is black, not red. Also the text is different from the newer ones, and also it says SR for Storm Ruger as opposed to just Ruger. Here, let me show you. So here are all my magazines. This is the original, and here's my next purchase. I purchased a second one, and then maybe a third one. Yeah, I guess I purchased 2 extra ones, and then I purchased 3. And how do I know that? Well, if we look at the original, you can see H2 right there in the finger hole, and then you can see a 2 in these, and then in these 3 you can see a 4. Get them in there. So that's how I know they were purchased separately, and I didn't notice that until recently. Actually, I thought, you know, the original was black, and you know, I just didn't pay any attention because all of the other rotaries were red. So I didn't pay attention, and I've only taken these apart one time, so they really don't get all that dirty. I mean, this is probably thousands of rounds through there. I pretty much use the original all the time, and it still functions well. The spring's okay. Oh yeah, let's look at the bottom. See how Ruger changed it? When they went just to Ruger, they changed the text and the logo. And then if you look at all of these, you'll see they are all pretty much the same, even though they're different stamp numbers, 2 and 4. And this one was H2. So anyway, so you can tell dates on magazines if you happen to buy some. Also on the back side, they all say 10 shot. So let's see, yeah, back side say 10 shot. 10 shot, where the original is just blank. Yeah, it just has the finger grip on here, which I'll show you in a little while how that works, because apparently no one else uses it except me. Anyway, so I did a little experiment. I made the bolt stop out of some plastic here. This is nylon, so that it can back up against there, and what I found is it doesn't really hit it all that much, and it doesn't really reduce the noise. And since I don't have a suppressor, you know, I just have a regular barrel, I don't have a suppressor, I really don't hear it anyway because I have earplugs in, so it doesn't matter all that much. But since I made it, I keep it in there because my original pin is, you know, in the toolbox. And I'll show you some original parts when I compare the BX trigger with the original metal trigger. So where does all the dirt go? Well, it's mostly on the bolt face and in the ejector lever. And that's kind of why I purchased the bolt tool from the gunsmither there. Can't remember. This was fairly expensive. I think it was $30. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's well worth it. It's really nice. I'll show you how that works after I clean it up. I'm not going to show you the cleaning. I'm going to take it all apart. I'm going to take the ejector lever out and clean it all up. The BX trigger, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm maybe clean that little white powder up a little bit. I'm not going to take the barrel off. I'm just going to clean up in here a little bit what I can get. Really, the brushes really can't get into the corners, but I'll clean it up and wipe it. Won't really spray it. And then of course the barrel, I'll take a few swabs through the barrel. So anyway, I just wanted to go over the Ruger and how it gets dirty with about 500 rounds of ammo through it. I really like this gun. Like I said, this is since 1985 when it was purchased. There's been literally hundreds of thousands of rounds through it. I was not caught short during the crisis, the 22 long rifle crisis of the Obama administration. So I was lucky there. What I was short on was segmented rounds. But anyway, I'm getting caught up. Still have plenty of practice rounds. My segmented rounds are mostly the heavier, 40 grain. So anyway, so I'm going to start cleaning up my gun now that I've shared a little bit of information with you, and I'm going to completely disassemble the bolt and show you what it looks like after it's all cleaned up, ready to go. I do want to show you the magazine release. Apparently no one does it the way I was taught, and I went back and looked on Ruger's website, and the technician that shows cleaning the gun does it correctly. Yay! However, I read the manual. Again, I read the old manual that I received with this gun. I read the manual they have on the website, and none of them really show that. So I don't normally take the firing pin out, and here you can see this is the original pin after, you know, hundreds and thousands of rounds. So I'm only saying, you know, a lot of people sell these things, they make all kinds of claims. I'm just saying, here is a 1985 firing pin with hundreds of thousands of rounds fired through it. And I'm going to take the ejector out, and the reason I'm going to take the ejector out is I'm just going to, you know, want to clean that face really well. I don't know if you can see it, but there's even a piece of brass in there. So anyway, I'm going to clean this up really well and get it all back together. See if I can get this out for you nice and clean on camera. There we go. Pin out. Sorry. The ejector, and you want to be careful, you don't want to let that fly across the room. Sorry. There we go. And all that's original. See, now I have a flat face I can just take the brush to. Take my nylon brushes and just scrub them out. So as you can see, it's gunked up pretty good, and this is all CCI ammo, and it's all CCI segmented too, as a matter of fact. And it's the heavy bullet. I really prefer the lighter. So all I have in the 32 grain is the supersonic 1640 feet per second. And I prefer the 32 grain. However, I've been shooting the 40 grain at 1050 feet per second, also segmented. So anyway, and as far as just other rounds, Remington, I shoot Remington out the wazoo. I don't even know what that is. Let me look. See, my Remington is 36 grain. It's the 22 golden bullet. That's what they call it. Its velocity is 1280 feet per second at the muzzle. And then the Federal is the 36 grain, also high velocity, and it is 1260 feet per second at the muzzle. So they're about the same. So I pretty much shoot the same for my ammo. I really don't go with the heavy rounds. I have the heavy rounds there because at the time that was all that was available right after the 22 shortage. So after I've recovered from the 22 shortage, I still had lots of practice rounds, but my segmented rounds was what suffered. Alright, go on with my cleaning here. So I have a nylon wire brush. I'll just kind of knock everything off and get the cleaning. I won't bore you with that unless I think of something else to talk about. You know, again, the bolt's the biggest clean. You know, there's just stuff everywhere. So I just make sure I clean it out. I've also seen on the kid bolts, you know, they put more of an angle on the back here. Boy, I am just so off camera today. I apologize for that. Anyway, they put more of an angle on there to throw the bolt, to throw the hammer back when the bolt goes back. But anyway, I don't really worry about it. This has always worked with all the ammo I put through it. I put Allegra, Federal, and Remington. Mostly Federal and CCI. A lot of CCI. So just tremendous amount of CCI ammo. It's what was available in Walmart, you know, at the time. 80s and 90s, so that's what I bought. Then when I bought, you know, quantities, you know, 500 round boxes and stuff, it was mostly Federal at Cabela's. And then some of the stores had a lot of Remington, you know, so I'd buy Remington. And I like the lighter bullets. I don't like the heavier 40 grains and stuff like that. Also, the lighter bullets, I don't know if you noticed, but the lighter bullets have longer brass cases. So the bolt has to go back further to throw it out. So the heavier bullets, you know, the cases are a lot shorter, and they usually do not have any trouble whatsoever clearing, and no misfires or anything like that with the heavier bullets. But there again, you know, this gun, I've maybe had, let me just say, a dozen jams in the hundreds of thousands of rounds that have been through it, and I can only think of 2 or 3. So it's been very good. Machining is very clean, very nice, very happy with it. So I don't know if you can see in there. There's all kinds of dirt down there and everything, so I'll get this all cleaned up, brushed out. Also, there's a pin in there, which I wouldn't know how to get out, and I'm not going to bother with it, so I'll just clean around it. The most I'd ever do is maybe get a little spray and try and spray underneath it, but there again, don't really care. So here's hundreds of thousands of rounds, and the firing pin is striking at the bottom here. So looks okay to me. I mean, steel hitting brass. I mean, what kind of damage can there be? All right, let's see if I can get this in without shooting it across the room here. Yeah, because I'm going to, hopefully you heard it. I wasn't talking over it, but it clicked in place. Testing it with my fingers in place just to make sure that I locked it down. And there you go. We're all set. I know my fingers covered it, but I had to protect the spring from flying into oblivion. So the last thing you want to do is hunt that down. So there we are, all back together. I really don't see anything bad on here. Got this one streak here on the polished side, but I shoot it. I could get the Dremel and polish it up, but I really don't care. Firing pin, everything's all straightened out. Don't have any issues. Only thing I didn't take out was this pin right here. I might have been able to help it out, but I don't really care. So I don't really see any bad marks on here. It looks like it was machined really well. I can see where the hammer gets reset. So it rolls right around there and recocks, gets ready to fire. So there's the bolt, all done. So I'm just going to put it in my vise and get the cleaning rods and run a couple rods, patches through there and see what it looks like. Alright, let's put it back together and we'll talk about the magazine here. So we'll just put this in place. Set our bolt in place. Alright, as promised, the magazine. Now let's look at this thing. Alright, so the magazine is inserted. Alright, how do you get it out? Well, look at this little tab right here. I would say your finger goes in there. And originally there was just a plate. You pressed on the plate. I'll show that when I compare it to the BX trigger, the original 1985 trigger group to the BX trigger. But anyway, so what you want to do is you want to push this forward. So you want to take your fingers and you just want to squeeze them together like this. So let me show you. Put one finger in the end. See the little finger hole right here? Finger in the end. Squeeze it to unlock it. It comes out in your hand perfectly. As you lift up, your finger comes off of the release onto the magazine. That's how it comes out. If you're upside down, well, if you do it right-handed and it's hidden, you're upside down. Let's see if we get on camera here. Well, I'm doing it backwards. Maybe I should do it left-handed. And let me do it left-handed. There we go. Magazine release, Ruger 1022. Push forward, falls out. And if it doesn't fall out, you know, it could be pretty dirty like my gun always is. But anyway, you just put pressure on with your finger. You're pulling towards the back. Push towards the back, push towards the front. Comes right out into your hand. Et voila. Alright, one more time. We're going to demo. I'm going to release the magazine. It's going to come out. It's going to slide down the release. Catch it with our thumb. Pull it out. Easy as that. It's a finger catch right here. Release it. Comes out. If you're like me, most people just drop it out. That's what that is.